All right, good night. I'm Dominica D'Avella. I'm going to chat with you about the powerful influence that exercise can have on our quality of life. You may be asking why I'm doing this on this perfectly good night of free beer. The reason is we all know it's good for us, we all know we should do it, but in reality, only 75 to 85% of adults in this country meet even minimal physical activity guidelines. So we'll forego any academic definitions tonight. Instead, I'd like you to think about your own interpretations or associations with these words. The common thread among them is really that they all relate to quality of life. And for the next few minutes, I'd like you to think about the loaded words of exercise or physical activity in the context of just movement. So inevitably, when we talk about exercise or fitness, we come across the terms of weight or body mass index. They're not without merit, but they're really not the most relevant to the conversation. And they misdirect the conversation away from body composition, which is what really matters and gets lost in the noise about all of these things. So there are 5 basic components of health-related fitness. They're really about getting your heart rate up, how much force your muscles can produce, how long they can do it for, your range of motion, and the ratio of your lean mass to fat mass. These are the things that really matter in the context of health. So the building blocks of exercise, it may seem like there's got to be a million because there are a million kinds of exercise out there. In reality, they're all just a combination of 5 basic movements, 3 planes of motion, and the goal is really to balance and integrate these in a way that translates to real life. Not doing so is problematic because it can exacerbate negative tendencies and poor movement patterns that we may have. So you may be asking, okay, how do I possibly fit this in? It's way too much. And the reality is it's not about working longer, it's about working smarter. Part of this is reframing our thoughts a little bit around our activities of daily living, our leisure time activity. Another part of it is decoupling the notion of fitness in the gym. The gym is really just one movement option and it's not necessarily even the best one. So why should you bother? You should bother because life happens in all 3 planes of motion and encompasses all 5 basic movements. Go through a day trying to avoid pushing, pulling, bending, walking, turning. I don't think you're going to be able to do it. So even if you are not training them, you're doing them. And if you're doing them wrong, that can lead to pain, injury, and reduced function. So the standard rationale is a logical appeal saying basically you want to live longer, you want to avoid chronic disease, do it or else bad things will happen. Unfortunately, we're really bad at risk perception and appropriately valuing the future. A better rationale is self-interest. Do it because we all like to feel good. Well-being is a good thing. We don't tend to say, I would like more pain and dysfunction, please. I really could use less energy, less mental acuity, less quality of life. And it feels good to resolve a disconnect between our values and our actions. Inevitably, you've heard the many, many pros of exercise. There are tons of benefits because the human body is meant to move. Everything simply works better when we do. Mentally speaking, physically speaking, even financially, we're better off when we're fit and healthy. So some of you may say there have to be cons. The first thing I would say is, seriously? You may say, I've tried exercise, it just doesn't work. I would say, work for what? The problem is often that we forget adaptation takes time. There's a dose-response relationship between exercise and the benefits. Yes, it does take time and energy, but there's a big return on investment. And bad outcomes are usually more related to overzealousness or magical thinking. So the bottom line is you have to be smart about it. So what do? Be realistic and sensible in setting your goals. If you're new to exercise, focus on minimizing sedentary time and accumulating short bouts of activity. If you're experienced, evaluate how well you're balancing the different health-related components of fitness and consider adding skill-related components if you're already doing that. Matching your skill level with the level of challenge is something that's going to facilitate long-term success. And if all else fails, play to your strengths. Fake it till you make it. We're great rationalizers. So a lot of times we think about this backwards. Behavior change actually often precedes attitude change. So relinquish your search for the perfect moment and just look for, the soonest moment. And it's okay if you start out feeling, like you hate it on the inside, as long as you look like that yellow happy guy on the outside. Focus on what you can change, and basically, like I said before, identify the earliest opportunity. It's a dynamic and ongoing process, so it helps to adopt a start, adjust, improve mentality. If all else fails, trick yourself. Nudges make it easier to do the right thing. Challenge what's normal, for instance, sitting all the time. Increase your chances of success by setting a better default. And don't underestimate the power of the environment. This unnecessarily taxes our willpower. So you really want to work on making your environment, if not supportive, at least neutral. So goals, do we have to? Well, yes, you kind of do. Don't fall into the trap of focusing on what you don't want as opposed to what you do want. Think about what you want to move towards instead of away from. Emphasize effort over outcome. Goals help us establish a baseline and a yardstick for evaluating our progress, which is important because our memories are really unreliable. And, you know, repetition, repetition, repetition. Practice helps positive behaviors become less effortful, more automatic, while awareness helps negative behaviors become less automatic and more conscious. Change takes time. Don't expect miracles. Save that for your spiritual life. Accept that you'll stumble and plan ahead on how you'll keep going. So everybody wants to know, what is the best exercise? And the answer is, it depends. So the principles behind it are a lot more universal than the application of them. On some level, it needs to be adapted to your body. It's a big red flag when somebody says to you, oh, it's simple, just do this. You really need to develop trusted sources of information to filter out the good information from the noise. And the fine print, play. You know, we need to let go of this mindset that exercises work. Pain is a signal, don't ignore it. Time is not an issue, it's the adult equivalent of the dog ate my homework. And figure out what helps you to be accountable. In the end, life is short. I hope that some of these things will help you think about challenging your preconceptions about exercise and fitness. Fitness really starts with moving more and moving better. Exercise is just one component of self-care, but it's an important one. And if you'd like to chat more about any of these things, I will be at the EMS Expo at the mall this Sunday all day. I hope to see you there. Thank you.